Hi, welcome to Math After Hours with Miss Austin. I'm a licensed math teacher here to help you with math questions. And today we are looking at multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So in other words, we are looking at fractions today. Multiplying and dividing, in my opinion, is easier than adding and subtracting. Usually my students think it's easier as well. But a big part of this is factoring. So you need to be familiar with all types of factoring in order to do well in this type of lesson. Okay, if we look at the first example, it's pretty basic. We just have 2 over 15 times 5 over 8. When we multiply fractions, we can just go straight across, right? We could do 2 times 5 over 15 times 8 and then simplify from there. But you can simplify earlier to make the problem a little easier. Because what we have here is we do have a 2 over 8, right? And 2 over 8 can be simplified. 2 over 8 is actually 1/4. So I'm going to change that to 1/4. We also have 5 over 15. And that can be simplified because both 5 and 15 can be divided by 5. So that simplifies down to 1/3. So now when we multiply straight across, we have 1 times 1, which is 1, over 3 times 4, which is 12. So to me, that's much easier than going straight across in the beginning and simplifying down with those bigger numbers. Okay, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to throw some variables in there. So on this next one, we have 4x over 6x minus 18 times x minus 3 over 16x squared. So always factor first if you see something you can factor. On this one, there's one thing we can factor, and that's 6x minus 18. It has a GCF of 6 that we can pull out. That leaves us with x minus 3. So we have a common factor of x minus 3 on the top and the bottom. And anything divided by itself is 1, so we can actually just cancel the x minus 3's. Is there anything else you see that shows up on top and on bottom? Well, we have this x, and we have 2 x's on bottom, so what I'm going to do is just get rid of the squared here, because we did cancel the x on top with one of the x's on the bottom, but we still have one other one left. And just because this looks a little messy, I'm going to rewrite what I'm left with. This is 4 over 6 times 1 over 16x. So, you can simplify 4 over 6. You can totally do that. But if you choose to simplify 4 over 16, that will save you a step. So if we divide both of those by 4, we get 1/4. So multiplying straight across, that's 1 times 1, which is 1. On bottom, that's 6 times 4x, which is 24x. And that's our answer. If you had chosen to simplify 4 over 6 first, that would be fine, but then you would have had an extra step to simplify again with the 16. So this just saves you a step, but you'll end up in the same place. Okay, our last example of multiplying is this one right here, and there is a lot we can factor. X squared minus 9 is a difference of squares that factors to x plus 3, x minus 3. X squared plus x minus 12. What factors of negative 12 add to 1? Well, that's x plus 4, x minus 3. We can't do anything with x plus 2, so we'll leave that alone, but we can factor x squared plus 4x plus 3. Factors of 3 that add to 4 are 3 and 1, so it would go to x plus 3, x plus 1. So if we look at what shows up on top and bottom, we have an x plus 3 on top and bottom. We have an x minus 3 on top and bottom, but we don't have anything else that shows up in both places. So that means we're done, and we'll just bring everything together. On top, we are left with x plus 2, and on bottom, you just have x plus 4, x plus 1. And that would be your answer. You can choose to multiply out the denominator in this case if you want to. I usually leave it factored. Okay, how do we divide? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We just change it to multiplication. If you have fractions that are being divided, you multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So what that means is if you want to do 1/2 divided by 3/10, that's the same as 1/2 times 10/3. You just flip that second fraction. And in this case, you can simplify 10/2 by dividing both those numbers by 2. That's 5/1. So then going across the top, 1 times 5 is 5, and across the bottom, 1 times 3 is 3. So if we do this with some variables, we can factor as we go. This first one, the x plus 5, I can't do anything with, but we can factor the bottom. X squared minus 4x plus 3 goes to x minus 1, x minus 3. And we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So now the x minus 3 is on top, and then the 4x plus 20 is on the bottom. And with that one, we can pull out a 4, and we're left with x plus 5. So everything is factored. Now we just look for common factors on the top and bottom that will cancel each other out. We have an x plus 5 on top and bottom that we can get rid of, and we also have an x minus 3 on top and bottom. So what are you left with on top? We canceled everything out, right? On the top. You're still left with 1. You do not have a 0. That's something that my students tend to do a lot. It is a 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. Okay, so we still have a 1 in the numerator, and we are left with a 4 in the bottom, as well as the x minus 1. So we have 4 times x minus 1. Okay, and our last example. Okay, if we start with 3x squared plus 15x, what does that factor to? Well, we don't have a constant, so this is a GCF. All we can do is pull out a GCF. What does 3x squared plus 15x have in common? Well, they both have a 3 and an x. And if we pull that out, we're left with an x and then a plus 5. On the bottom, x squared minus 3x minus 40 goes to x minus 8, x plus 5. And then we're going to change the second one to multiplication by flipping it. So now the 5x squared is on the bottom. It's just a single term, so there's no factoring there. And then x squared minus 64 is a difference of squares. We've seen that a couple times now. That's x minus 8, x plus 8. Okay. Well, we have an x plus 5 on top and bottom, x minus 8 on top and bottom. And is there anything else we can get rid of? We have an x on top that will cancel with one of the x's on the bottom. So I'm just going to get rid of the squared because we still have the other one down there. So we have 3 and x plus 8 left on top. So 3 times x plus 8. And then on the bottom, we are just left with 5x. Okay. And that is how you multiply and divide rational expressions. So like I said before, a big part of this is factoring. So if you struggle with factoring, I highly recommend that you review that first before you come and try to do these types of problems. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions you would like me to do, please comment them below.